What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Samsung Galaxy A22 5G. This is, of course, the successor to last year's A21. It's the cheapest 5G capable phone Samsung now offers, and I think this is the final new A series phone for 2021. We have completely filled out the lineup now. The A22 5G is very much a more budget-friendly device, but this phone actually offers a pretty good mix of solid features, decent specs, and a whole lot more that could make it a standout value. There's a ton to go over here with this new phone, so I won't waste any more time. First things first, let's go ahead and unbox this thing, see what all comes inside the package, and then we'll see what the new A22 5G has to offer. So slicing into the box and sliding off the sleeve, you'll see that the unboxing experience mimics what we've seen before on similar A series phones this year. To start off, you get a little cardboard packet, and inside here is just a quick start guide. No additional paperwork and no included clear case for this phone, unfortunately. Next up is the device itself, of course. We'll set that to the side for just a second, and the last few parts and pieces included inside the box are a SIM ejector tool fastened there to the very bottom of the package, and an included USB-A to USB-C charge cable, and the classic 15-watt Samsung USB charging brick, which is the fastest, highest capacity charger this phone supports. With all that stuff out of the way, here is the new A22 5G once again. And you can see that I actually got mine in this new mint color, a shade we haven't really had before, I think. It looks really nice. It's also available in gray, white, and violet. As far as pricing and availability, this is going to depend on a number of factors, and actually there's a few things to go over here. Now, there is both an A22 5G, which is this device, and an A22 4G or LTE model. Depending on where in the world you're located, you might have access to one or both, but they are very different phones. Different sizes, different specs, different features, so keep that in mind. This device, the A22 5G, retails for about $250 in most regions unlocked, which I think is a pretty good price. And if you are interested, I'll leave some links down below in the video description to where you can get this phone at its cheapest current price. Like I said though, just make sure you know which A22 you're looking at, either this 5G model or the 4G, because they are totally different phones. This A22 5G is a fairly large 6.6-inch device, and from the front, it does kind of look like the usual budget Samsung A series phone, which I think offers both some pros and cons. On the one hand, this is a big device, and you're getting a ton of screen real estate, which is very nice. However, you are still stuck with some sizable bezels bordering the display all around. The design here hasn't changed much. So you've got a teardrop notch at the top and a noticeable chin at the bottom, and all that contributes a little more to the overall size of the device. It feels pretty big in the hand, and that's not always a positive thing. Still, I think the A22 is a decent looking device from the front, and around back, once again, Samsung decided to just offer a totally new and completely different fit and finish than any other A series phone in the lineup. Like I said already, this mint color is unique to the A22 5G, so that's one thing, but the material finish, the camera placement, even the Samsung logo at the bottom, it's all unique to this phone as well, which is just so strange. The A22 5G is still a plastic device, and the rear cover is a matte finish, but it's more of a slippery, shiny matte finish. It sounds sort of contradictory, but that's the best way I can describe it. It's different than all the other matte finishes we've had on every Samsung phone before it. And when we compare this design and form factor of the new A22 5G to all the other A series phones in the lineup, you can also sort of see what I mean. Every single A series phone this year, from the A12 with its two-tone textured back and blacked out camera module, to the A32 with a glossy finish and tall triple lens camera, to the A42, which sort of got stuck with last year's design, to even the A52, they're all different from this A22. Different finish, different design, different camera setup. It's just so strange, but honestly, out of all the A series phones this year, the back of the A22 I think wound up looking the best. Also, the sides and frame of this A22 5G are a matte metal-like material that color matches the phone, so no shiny, fingerprinty, polished materials really anywhere here. No curved display either, or contoured edges. The housing is a bit more curved than boxy, but overall this is a pretty flat flat ice cream sandwich shaped phone. Taking a closer look around at everything else, on the left side is your dual SIM and SD card tray. On the right side, you have the power button doubling as a fingerprint sensor, which I'll demo in a second, along with the usual volume buttons. Down below at the bottom is the headphone jack with the USB-C charging port beside that, and a single speaker setup. Unfortunately, no dual stereo sound with this phone, which is a bit of a bummer. It does still get pretty loud though, and here's a quick audio sample so you can get an idea. Of course, like I mentioned already, the teardrop selfie camera is there up front. Around back, there's a triple lens camera setup, which I'll go over in just a bit. But let's actually jump back to the fingerprint sensor now, because this is something that really caught my attention. I don't know what it is, I can't really explain it, but the A22 5G feels like it has the fastest fingerprint sensor I think I've ever experienced. Seriously, I just barely tap the thing, just barely touch it with the tip of my thumb, and the phone opens right up. I think this is just one of the benefits of maybe having an actual fingerprint sensor, not an under the display fingerprint reader. It's just way quicker to have the actual sensor. It's more accurate. It's something I was also taken aback by the first time I tried it, which sounds weird. It's just a fingerprint sensor, but it's just strangely quick. And actually, it's a similar story with Face Unlock too, seemingly faster than similar phones I've tried recently. Now, I can't necessarily comment on security or accuracy. Maybe the bump in speed means there were some sacrifices in other areas, but either way, getting into this device takes a fraction of a second, and that's pretty nice. So let's now dive a little deeper into the specs. And to start off, I think we need to talk about the display because this is a bit of a mixed bag. The large 6.6-inch screen on the A22 5G is a 2400 by 1080 resolution TFT panel, LCD basically, and it packs in around 399 pixels per inch. So it's not a great start considering the A20, for example, from 2 years ago had a super AMOLED display, but I guess the positive is that this is a high refresh rate 90 Hz display. So I think you sort of have to weigh the whole setup here. Yeah, TFT isn't great. I think 1080 resolution is mostly fine, even on a screen this size. You won't be picking out too many pixels from a normal viewing distance. And 90 Hz, or motion smoothing, as Samsung calls it in settings, is honestly nice to have. The phone feels faster and more responsive. I think jumping between 60 and 90 Hz, the overall experience is noticeable, even from an average consumer's perspective. Overall, I don't think the viewing experience here is bad at all. It's really quite good for what it is, though I know LCD is a little dimmer, a little less colorful, and I also know fans of the A series miss the incredible value they used to get when AMOLED screens were the norm. With the display here on the A22 5G, Samsung seems to just have put the priority on size and refresh rate more than anything else. Inside, the A22 5G is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G processor, a still fairly new 2021 mid-range chipset that I've found to be pretty solid in other devices. Either 4, 6, or 8 gigs of RAM and 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage. All in all, I think there's enough here inside this phone to get the job done, and on the software side of things, this phone does ship with Android 11 and One UI 3.1, but it is One UI Core, so you may find a small handful of Samsung-related things missing on this device because of that core software distinction. I've personally never found that to be a big deal though. 99% of the Samsung and Android features and settings and apps and things are all here, and out of the box, at least I consider this phone to be reasonably fast given my expectations, since it is a sub $300 phone after all. I do look forward to pushing this phone a bit harder in my full review with some gaming tests and stuff like that, because I think this phone has the potential to be a decent contender for a good all-around value. It may even be significantly better than the likes of the A12, for example, so that's another thing to consider, but I do look forward to putting all that to the test soon. In general though, I don't really see any pressing issues with the specs and performance on the A22 5G out of the box, and I think this phone does offer enough inside where most people can still get a lot out of it. Now, powering this phone is a bigger than average 5,000 milliamp battery inside. And this to me suggests at least 2 days of use on a single charge under normal circumstances. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that could affect that, but in general, this is another one of those phones in Samsung's lineup where the battery is big enough and the specs, I think, are less power hungry, so the phone as a whole has the potential to really be in it for the long haul. Again, definitely something I look forward to testing out here, and the only downside I see is really just no super fast charging. You're capped at 15 watts, like I said earlier, but I think you do have the potential to stay off the charger anyway with this phone. Finally, let's go over the triple lens camera setup around back. And again, this is sort of a mixed bag of both good and bad. The main lens here is a 48 megapixel f1.8 aperture shooter, a pretty good start, honestly. The secondary lens is a 5 megapixel ultra wide, something we've seen in a lot of Samsung phones before. And the third is that usual 2 megapixel depth sensor. Up front, the selfie camera is actually just an 8 megapixel shooter, and that's probably what I'm most disappointed with. Inside the camera app, you'll also see that we've got most of the basics, but not a whole lot more than that. I appreciate Samsung sticking a full 48 megapixel lens on the back of this phone. I think snapping everyday pictures, that's a great setup. There's a combination of useful stuff like night mode and pro controls and even slow-mo that sometimes do get omitted on cheaper phones, but the combination of sort of gimmicky stuff coupled with a really subpar selfie camera leads me to believe that there wasn't as much commitment to offering a stellar camera experience as some other A-series phones this year. So that's a little disappointing to see. And taking some quick sample shots, I do like what the rear lens is producing just with a simple picture here. There's good color, plenty of detail. There's nice edge detection and separation with the portrait shot, which is cool. This selfie camera though, it's tough to see here, but the actual picture gets the color pretty wrong. My skin tone looks blotchy, my hair is like a reddish orange. There's some issues here, and I think out of everything on this phone, the selfie camera setup to me is probably the most disappointing aspect of the A22 5G so far, just from my initial impressions. So there you go, those are sort of my initial thoughts on the new A22 5G, at least out of the box here. What do you guys think of this device? Is this something you are maybe considering? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.